Tonight on KGW News, Oregon lawmakers consider a new bill to ban book bans.
Plus, a case of the bubonic plague is discovered in Oregon, but it's not a cause for concern.
The likelihood of this spreading in any form is incredibly low.
How the ominous-sounding illness is now easily treated.
And later, you've heard about efforts to repeal Measure 110, but some in recovery say it's made all the difference.
It's helped me immensely. I don't think I could have done it without them.
A look tonight at one treatment clinic you might call a success story. Good evening, everyone. We begin at 11 with a new bill in Oregon that pushes back on a rise in attempted book bans in schools. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm China Green. The sponsor of the bill says it simply prohibits the removal of books based on discrimination, but opponents argue it's taking power away from local schools and parents. Alma McCarty has a debate from Salem.
Another legislative session is underway in Salem.
Stop messing with our kids.
Let's lean into sparking curiosity.
And up for consideration this week, Senate Bill 1583, a bill that would ban certain kinds of book bans. Senator Lou Frederick explains.
The bill is actually quite simple. It says that a school official cannot prohibit materials because the materials concern a class of people identified in our education anti-discrimination laws. In other words, you cannot ban a book because the book involves folks from marginalized communities.
Although hundreds submitted testimony online, Tuesday's public hearing provided an opportunity to testify in person. First up, those in favor.
Students don't need to be protected from the truth. Rather, they need to learn the truth in order to help them navigate a complex world. And if they understand historical injustices, they are better prepared to recognize, address, and repair injustice they encounter today.
Students aren't required to read every book in the library, but it's essential that they have a choice of books that connect them to the world.
However, several expressed strong feelings against the bill, questioning at times if it's even necessary.
This bill, as others have spoken, is redundant. We already have plenty of safeguards in place. We don't need more.
This situation that I see takes it out from local control.
This bill conveys distrust and disrespect for parental and community involvement. This will further alienate Oregonians from the public schools.
Librarians spoke up too, voicing their approval of such a bill. We caught up with Miranda Doyle, who works for districts in Southern Oregon.
We have selection policies that we follow. We look for positive reviews. We make sure they're appropriate for that grade level that we're putting them in the libraries for. But there's always that thought in the back of our heads now, are we going to get challenged? This important, well-reviewed, excellent book, if we buy this, are we going to have to deal with book banning?
Other advocates like Jessica Maravilla with the ACLU of Oregon emphasized the proposal isn't taking away control from parents, from schools, or from school leaders.
It's actually not such a big shift, so I think people just need to really read it and comprehend it a little bit more.
There's a work session for this bill coming up on Thursday, and if it ends up passing out of the Senate, eventually it will go to the House Education Committee, where people who are either for or against it will have another opportunity to testify. In Salem, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
And another bill up for discussion in Salem today will sound familiar.
Yep.
Lawmakers are once again trying to do away with daylight saving time change.
Okay, this one's different, though, because the new bill would keep Oregon on standard time all year long. Yes, this means earlier sunsets. It differs from the approach passed by both Oregon and Washington lawmakers in 2019. That bill made daylight saving time permanent, but it required federal approval. Didn't happen. So this new bill bypasses the need for federal approval since it preserves standard time instead. The president of a group called Save Standard Time believes staying on it is the fairest change for everyone.
It's shown by science to be the healthiest and safest way for commuters, for people who need to work outdoor, like farmers or construction, for children learning in school, and for everybody's just productivity in the workplace.
But there's opposition as well, of course. The University of Washington professor testified that we should be staying on daylight saving time to push daylight into the evening hours.
That evening rush hour kills 3 times as many people as the morning rush hour does because there's more people on the road. There's more kids enjoying outdoor unsupervised play. There's more alcohol in drivers' bloodstreams. People are rushing to get home.
Lawmakers are scheduled to hold a work session over this bill on Thursday.
Don't switch your watches yet. All right, to get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, in the U.S. Capitol, the House has voted to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. It is the first time that's happened to a cabinet secretary in nearly 150 years. House Republicans claim victory by a thin margin on their second try to impeach Mayorkas. They blame him for the record number of crossings at the southern border. Democrats say this is essentially a policy dispute, one for voters to decide. Mayorkas will keep his job unless the Senate votes to convict him, which is unlikely.
Alaska Airlines flight attendants have voted to authorize a strike. Today, the union representing the workers announced more than 99% of participating members voted yes. However, this does not mean a strike is imminent. The authorization is in case Alaska management and the flight attendants cannot agree on a new contract. And a strike would have to be approved by federal regulators. And the last time Alaska Airlines flight attendants went on strike was in 1993.
And the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is asking for help finding a missing and endangered woman. 69-year-old Joanne Lee walked away Monday afternoon, authorities say, from her caretaker near the Wood Village Burrito Shop along Northeast Halsey. She suffers from health issues that require treatment and medication. Authorities describe Lee as Asian, 5'6", 117 pounds, last seen wearing a gray hoodie, black and white striped shirt, and black leggings. Anyone who sees her should call 911.
Turning to weather now, there's a lot of snow on the way to the mountains, but what about the valley?
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino tracking it all as he always does. Matt, it sounds like it could be a little bit of a close call here.
I think we'll skate through this one without getting any valley snow, but it is something that has our attention. We'll be watching closely because it is a somewhat close call. We've got moisture moving into the southern Oregon coast and northern California right now. Still have a clear sky over the Portland area, but there is colder air dropping south through Washington and BC. It's just not that cold. So for the Gorge, there's a winter storm warning, several inches of snow there. For the Cascades, a couple of feet of snow. Notice no watches or warnings though in the lowlands of western Oregon or western Washington. And right now, I think that's the good call. Now, I mentioned it's just not that cold to the north. It's 28 in Spokane, but 34 in Walla Walla. And yes, they're below freezing. But to get snow in Portland, typically we see much colder air already in Spokane. You don't get into the teens really until you get way up into central and northern BC. So yes, while there's somewhat colder air to the north, and some of that will filter down through the Columbia Basin and through the Gorge into the Portland area, I don't think it's going to be quite cold enough to bring snow all the way down to the valley floor. So best case scenario, we just get a cold rain tomorrow and on Thursday. Worst case, it does get cold enough. We get heavy enough precipitation rates that it does turn to snow. We get a few inches. Most likely is also the best case, just a cold rain on the way for the next couple of days. But that east wind is going to pick up, and that's going to be troublesome and bothersome. Brings back shades of what happened a month ago. Talk more about that later, guys. Back to you.
All right, Matt, thank you. Tonight, Oregon is reporting the first recorded human case of bubonic plague in the state in more than 8 years.
And health officials say the person infected likely got it from their cat. Catherine Cook got a sense tonight of how concerned pet owners should be. Catherine?
Well, David, this happened in central Oregon. Sadly, the cat died, but its owner is responding well to treatment. Doctors say the public should not be concerned, but this is a good reminder to follow some basic steps to help prevent the plague and other diseases. When news of the bubonic plague in Oregon hit this week, it spread like well, you know. But hang on a second.
The likelihood of this happening to you or your pet is extremely rare.
Still, Dove Lewis vet Dr. Hannah Marshall understands the hysteria.
The plague in general, yes, it's very easy to think about the medieval times, the buckets, the rats everywhere, bring out your dead if you watch Monty Python, that sort of thing. But truth be told, it's an extremely rare disease that we deal with in our pets as well as the human population.
Health officials say the plague infected a cat and its owner this month in central Oregon. It's the first human case of the bubonic plague in Oregon since 2015. A Deschutes County health officer said the pet owner is alive and has been responding well to treatment. Sadly, the cat did not survive. Health officials say because the disease was detected in its early stages, it didn't spread and poses little risk to the community. Pets can get bubonic plague from infected rodents or fleas and can then transfer the infection to humans. Typically, symptoms start 2 to 8 days after exposure and can include fever, nausea, muscle aches, and very swollen lymph nodes.
So if your pets are on appropriate flea control, then I wouldn't stress at all about this sort of a thing. The bigger worry would be if you have outdoor cats that have high flea or rodent exposure and that aren't on any preventatives or protection.
State health officials say in the rare case the bubonic plague does show up, there are treatments with a high success rate.
And for humans, it's the same thing. We have antibiotics that will treat individuals and prevent an infection right away. But you need to do those prevention components to make sure that you're not exposed and your animal is not exposed.
Another way to prevent that? Experts say avoid contact with rodents and don't feed animals like squirrels or chipmunks. Again, doctors say you don't need to worry. Just be vigilant.
And a lot of it is cluing into, is your cat feeling sick? Do they have flea exposures? Plus, then do you have signs that come on within a few days?
Cases of the plague are rare in the U.S. According to the CDC, an average of 7 human cases, the majority of them bubonic, are reported each year. Back to you.
Hopefully that's the last one we see here. Catherine, thank you. And there is another rare illness making headlines right now, also related to cats, among other small animals. It's called Alaska pox, and a man living in a remote area of Alaska just died from it, but his case appears to be the exception here. So Alaska pox creates these lesions on the skin. Since 2015, only 7 cases of Alaska pox have been reported to Alaska health officials. Nearly all of those cases were mild. The man who just died was also battling cancer, and his compromised immune system may have led to the severity of the case. Health officials say Alaska pox primarily shows up in small mammals like rodents, but they say cats and dogs may play a role spreading it as well. In this fatal case, the man may have gotten it from a stray cat. Straight ahead on KGW News at 11, how a clinic is filling the gap in addiction treatment outside of Portland.
And beads, bands, and beignets, how Rose City Mardi Gras celebrations echoed some of the action in the Big Easy. Stay with us.